Hello, everyone, and welcome into this episode of the Irish NFL Show with me, Colum Cronin. And I am delighted to welcome back a good friend of the show, a man who is as insightful as he is entertaining. It's the Falcons beat writer from the Atlanta Journal Constitution, D. Orlando Ledbetter. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, Colum. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for taking the time to chat to me. Always good to get your insights. I suppose that as we sit here, the Falcons on the cusp of the journey to London, the Orlando, it's been an interesting start to the season for this team. In general, what are your feelings about how 2023 has gone through the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's for the Falcons. It's been a good start overall. Winning the first two games against the Panthers and the Packers, and then going on the road and losing at Detroit. They had a lot of moving parts this offseason. Overturned almost 50% of the roster, handed the offense over to Desmond Ridder, and spent a whole lot of money on the defensive side of the football. So to be starting 2-1, given all of the variables, I think they have to be excited for what's to come for the team this season.
And I suppose in terms of maybe if we go with the offense first, right? Because that's probably the piece that is, the most noteworthy in terms of the names and the weapons that are available to the Falcons. Bijan is everything that I suppose fans hoped he would be and more. From a Falcons perspective, how has he been for them? I mean, has he surpassed what they even expected when they drafted him, D. Orlando?
Yes, he has. Yes, that has happened. He is off to a great start here. Had 177 total yards in the second game. Definitely could run and catch the ball in the backfield. Definitely an exciting piece to the offense. Now they have to learn how to spread the ball around to the other weapons. They've had trouble getting it to Kyle Pitts and Drake London thus far. So, but they do have a running game, and they do have two running backs. Taylor Algier has scored two of the five rushing touchdowns of five touchdowns total this year, and Bijan has another one, catching one out of the backfield. So Ritter has one, and London has one. So they haven't scored a lot of points, but they have shown that they know how to use the rookie running back and the second year running back, and Desmond Ridder is going to have to be a little bit more accurate when he's throwing the football.
Yeah, I'm interested, I suppose, in your insights and thoughts on Ritter, because we have seen him be up and down, which I suppose isn't unsurprising for a young player. But I go back maybe to last week rather than this week, and in the first quarter, he almost turned the ball over 3 times, and then he really improved it as the game went on. He struggles certainly this week, but what's the feeling in the building on Ritter? Are they happy with how it's gone so far? What are the areas they're really looking for him to improve on?
Well, the coach is sticking with him. Um, he says he gives them a chance to win, which is pretty much all they want right now. But he's got to do something more to get the offense moving. But they have he has their support for now. And the coach thinks he can win with them. So maybe they got to call better throws for him, and maybe play to his strengths a little bit better. Because everybody knows he's checking it down, and they're going to try to run the ball. So he's going to have to hit some passes up the field. And, he hit one for 28 yards to Drake London, but you need to see that a little bit more often from him. But yeah, the team is behind him. He's their quarterback. Tyler Heineke was signed to be the backup, and they're not ready to throw in the towel at 2-1.
Is it? Am I? He's a sizable guy. Like when you look at the stats, I think he's 6'3" and he's just over 200 pounds, but he looks quite light. Is that just a TV perception thing, to Orlando, or is that it would seem in comparison to say somebody like Justin Herbert, and Herbert isn't that much bigger than him, but Herbert, it feels like defenders have much more difficulty taking somebody like Herbert down.
Yeah, you kind of prototype quarterback Herbert, 6'5", 220 or so. I think Matt Ryan played at 215 at 6'4". He's a little bit smaller than that prototype guy, but he's also a better runner. He's more mobile, and so yeah, he's more in line with a Jalen Hurts size. I don't know if he squats as much as Jalen, but yeah, that's a real perception that he's a little bit smaller. But with the smaller part of it, you get the speed, and that really helped him in the Packers game. He was able to get away from the blitzes, run for a touchdown, and then make them pay with his feet. So they're going to also try to do a little bit more of that for Desmond as they move forward. They established the run. Now they have to go to the next phase of that, which would be the RPO game with him, where he's reading the end and maybe keeping it sometimes to run and score when they're close into the end zone and so forth. So, that he's got his own skill sets, and they're trying to figure out how to play to him so far. Counting last year, he was 2-2, and this year he's 2-1. So that's three and that's going to give you 4-3. So you need to be winning at a little bit more better clip than that if you're going to, be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
And if we turn our attention to the defensive side of the ball, and obviously Ryan Nielsen has come across from the Saints, what's the feeling on the job he's done? He was only appointed back to the very end of January. So how are people feeling about that new defense? As you said, money spent there, but Jessie Bates certainly has been impressive thus far.
Yes, the defense has been impressive. Jessie Bates has 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a forced fumble. So yeah, he has been making an impact. They did have one blown coverage against the Lions where LaPorta came open for a 45-yard touchdown where there was nobody within 12 yards of him. So you got to fix that. The pass rush has not been prevalent yet. They only have 3 sacks and 20 quarterback hits, but they have had strings of stops. In the Green Bay game, they got down 24-12 with 56 seconds left, and then they didn't give up any yards the rest of the way. And then against the Lions went up 13-3 late in the second. And then the Falcons shut them down for 5 consecutive series. They forced 4 punts and a turnover, interception by Bates. But the offense couldn't get moving during that stretch when the defense was holding the Lions off the field. So those 2 stretches are very promising. Those are things you could build off of, and you could see the defense coming together. You need to see a little bit more pass rush. They're doing a good job against the run. And minus that one blown coverage there, they've been pretty good in the secondary. So you got to feel pretty good here early on about how the defense is coming together.
And can I ask about Arthur Smith? Because I have described him on our show as kind of the antithesis of Brandon Staley. And what I mean by that is Staley seems to kind of change his approach depending almost on which way the wind is blowing. Like he was very aggressive when he was first with the Chargers. Then, he seemed to roll back on that. We've seen him kind of go back and forth, and players don't always maybe know where they stand. Arthur Smith, whatever one thinks of him, appears to have the courage of his convictions, and players know that where they stand, and they know he's aggressive, and they know he's going to go for it. In terms of he's in year 3, they are 2-1. how are things in year three for the head coach?
Mhm. Yes, Arthur Smith is, doing a good job. He's a stand-up guy with his players, and he really keeps it real simple on what he wants them to try to do and how hard he wants them to play. They're one of the few teams that runs grassers at the end of practice, and for that is wind sprints. You already been through hour and a half of practice, and now you want to finish them up with some wind sprints of running to stay in shape. And that's paid off early on here as they in the first two games they had a 27-0 advantage in the fourth quarter. So they are a well conditioned team. Um and teams in early in the NFL season, there's a lot of work still to be done. So, it's no surprise that they're still working on their offense and passing game because they didn't do it in the exhibition season. But, they got the running game down, got to work on the passing game. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Smith, with his new coaches over there, they got to, continue to stop the run, defend the pass, get after the passer a little bit better. And, things will start happening on that side of the ball also. But he's comfortable here in his third year. This is a season where the Falcons will want to return to the playoffs. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2017. And the game in London will be a big indicator on whether this team can bounce back and be a playoff team in 2023.
Yeah, and on that, I suppose we know that Arthur Blank, the owner, is one of the kind of key figures in terms of certainly amongst the owners, and wanting to grow the game globally, and his commitment to that. And we will see the Falcons travel back to London, but to take on the Jags. In terms of this matchup, the Jags, I suppose, have stuttered on offense a little bit, but more so than even the Falcons, because they sit at 1-2 and coming off a really disappointing divisional loss. But there is talent there, and obviously they have a head coach who's won a Super Bowl. How do you feel the Falcons match up to this Jaguar side, D. Orlando?
Yeah, the Jags, they put very good weapons around Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback. So they got a good passing game. And they got Calvin Ridley in the trade with the Falcons. They signed Christian Kirk in free agency. They retained Evan Ingram, who's from Atlanta, Hillgrove High, and was with the Giants. So they had, and Travis Etienne is having a good year. They had over 400 yards against the Houston Texans, but they had a blown punt recovered. They blocked the field goal. They had a punt return for a touchdown. Calvin Ridley dropped two potential touchdown passes. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. Right now, they're the defending AFC South champs. And you got to figure that a smart coach like Doug Peterson's going to fix most of that stuff. I don't know how he's going to make them run or do it punitively, or find the players who are making the mistakes. But the mistakes they're having, they can fix. They have a good defensive front. Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, two of the top picks in recent drafts. And Trayvon was number one overall in 2022 out of Georgia. So it's a good matchup. I haven't seen the early lines, but I'm imagining that Jacksonville's favored because of that high-powered offense. And the reason they lost to Houston was more of the mistakes that they made that I think could be corrected. So the Falcons will be an underdog here in this game. This is one of the games I had them. I had them winning the first two and losing these next two. So that's kind of what we projected here when the schedule came out, is that this was going to be a tough game for the Atlanta Falcons. And now you're facing a desperate Jacksonville team that's lost their last two games at home. So you're going to get their best game. So it'll be the Falcons will have to match that challenge. It's a great opportunity for them, and if they could pull it off, be their best start in a long time at 3-1.
And in terms of the NFC South, the Orlando, I mean, I think I think there is maybe 5 points between the top scorers in the division and the lowest scorers, but the defense again between kind of the Falcons, the Saints, and the Bucks, they're all I think in the 50s in terms of points scored, in the 50s in terms of points conceded. The Panthers obviously have conceded far more points, but have are the Saints, the Bucks, and the Panthers kind of what you expected them to be before the season, or have any of them surprised you?
No, that's about right. The Saints, everybody's 2-1. Atlanta, the Saints, and Tampa Bay. Carolina's 0-3. They got a good defense, but Shaq Thompson being hurt, doesn't help them. Whenever you decide to start a rookie quarterback, it's going to be a long season. I mean, even Peyton Manning went 1-15. So, not really expecting Bryce Young to come in there and turn it around in 1 year. But so they're leading that way. He didn't even start the third game. They went with Andy Dalton. But yeah, the Falcons, their defense is coming together. The Saints have the best unit in the division. Their defense, Derek Carr's hurt. That might throw them off a little bit. And then we saw Tampa Bay try to play with Philly last night, and that didn't work out too good for them. Baker Mayfield on his fourth team. I don't think he's taking you anywhere, but they do have a good defense. So the division is going to be won by one of these defensive teams, and if anybody can put together some kind of offense, Falcons got the weapons, but not the quarterback. The Saints got the weapons, and the quarterback's hurt. And they got the best quarterback in the league if you count Derek Carr. And Alvin Kamara is coming back from suspension, so they got the receivers, Olave, and Michael Thomas and Kimura. So they got some weapons. They can make the charge too. Tampa Bay, I don't think they have enough. Just Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. Godwin's a possession receiver, so they don't probably have enough. So the Saints are still the favorite in my book if Derek Carr gets healthy. And then if the Falcons can put together an offense to go with the improving defense, then they'll have a shot at it here out of the NFC South. So good start for all teams except for Carolina. And I think that's kind of the way we had it pegged coming into the season too.
Just to go on a slight tangent, because he was in your division for a long time, and I know you had some interactions. Say, wished him well when he was no longer the head coach of the Saints. Are you surprised that Sean Payton and the Broncos have struggled so much to Orlando?
Yeah, I'm very surprised because Coach Payton's teams are usually well coached and uh, you know uh, score a lot of points. But so far, I think it shows you how far the Denver situation was messed up, even with Nate Hackett going in there last year. So I mean, if you're getting beat 70-20, there are a lot of things that are not going right. Players are I don't know if they're not disciplined or did they give up or, what's going on. But it's clearly, before they get better, a lot of those players are going to be gone from Denver. They're going to have to restock that thing and get it turned around.
And I know the last time that you were on with me, we talked a little bit about the Georgia defense and the number of players in the league, and they were kind of bubbling a little bit under the surface maybe last year. Is this the breakout year for some of those Georgia players? I mean, Jalen Carter in particular he seems to have taken to the league like a duck to water.
Yeah, Jalen had a punched out the ball yesterday in the Philly Tampa Bay games, made a lot of splash plays. Certainly, a lot of people in Georgia wanted the Falcons to take him over Bijan Robinson, but he had some issues back in college with the speeding and workouts and so forth that they clearly weren't comfortable with. So, but he's doing good. Trayvon Walker's not doing so good down at Jacksonville. He's got 1 sack. He's only got 4 career sacks. When you drafted number 1 overall, you're supposed to produce a little bit more than that. So he's not doing too good. No, Kobe Dean is hurt up in Philly. He's out. Jordan Davis is doing pretty good in Philadelphia. Uh, Kylie Ringo's up there. He's not starting, but he's a cornerback. And Stetson Bennett, the quarterback, he had to leave the team with the Rams. They had some personal issues. We don't know what those are, but yeah, those are some of the Georgia players and how they're doing in the league so far.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I think the first 3 weeks can very often, lead some teams maybe into a false insecurity, and other teams are worried. I know, say San Francisco last year, an example of a team who really kind of pushed on after a poor start. For you, D Orlando, I know you're headed to London. It'll be great to see you at the game. But for our listeners who want to check out the stuff, and every time you're on, I encourage people to check out the Bowtie Chronicles, which is the Orlando's podcast, which is really magnificent. But where can people find your stuff?
Thank you, Colum. You can find me on the Twitter at DOrlandoAJC. And our website is it's AJC.com. And the our Facebook page is Atlanta Falcons News Now. Those are the main platforms that we're on. And tweet out all the stories, and podcasts will be coming out at tomorrow morning, and we'll do preview this game, and then we'll have another one from London after the game against the Jaguars, wrapping up that game. So we try to do 2 a week on the podcast, the Bowtie Chronicles. We're up to episode 418 today. So thanks for letting me share that with all of your listeners, and thanks for having me on the show again, Colin. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Absolutely. And I mean, for anyone listening, the Orlando is one of the best in the business, and he is known. I have been in the media room, in the press conference after the Super Bowl. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both given nods to this guy. He knows his stuff. One of the hardest working men in the business as well. Always appreciate you joining me, D Orlando. Wish you continued success, and look forward to seeing you at Wembley on Sunday.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great rest of the week.